Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 245. This week is an interesting one. We've got some I would like to call it pre-patch announcements, but it's more of a blog, and we'll get into exactly why very soon, as there seems to still be a little bit of a question mark when it comes to the date of the actual pre-patch. On top of that, we have finally some words on the virtual BlizzCon, and we also have the fourth and final Afterlives episode to talk about. Before we jump into anything though, let me introduce myself. I'm Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, full-time streamer on Twitch playing mostly World of Warcraft, sometimes other games too. My co-host is, as usual, the lovely Perculia.
Wowhead, and we have been super busy preparing for the Shadowlands pre-patch, launch, Season 1, and all these data mining updates that keep happening. We're always really happy to do this show and let you know what has been the most talked about on Wowhead in the last week, and sometimes we even have cats show up. Brightpaw usually joins me for the intro, but he's deciding to sleep, and he is right below the camera right now. So I thought the show was going to be kind of light, but then it actually got very interesting news this morning between BlizzCon and this pre-patch blog. So why don't we talk about virtual BlizzCon right off the bat, because that was kind of sort of a surprise, and there is cat news in it.
Yeah, let's jump straight into that. The cat news. So, for the first time ever, we have a very special type of cosplay contest. I suppose we can still call it. Oh yes.
Yes.
Let's start with the simple things. I'm way too excited about the pet part.
Yes.
But yes, BlizzConline, yeah. It's a funny word that they've put together since it's online now, has been confirmed to be on February 20th, 19th to the 20th. I'm too excited about the pet part. Do you want to introduce BlizzConline?
Well, because there's no BlizzCon this year with COVID, there is a virtual event in early 2021. We don't know if this means that there's going to be no fall BlizzCon 2021, and there's still a lot we don't know, like panels, if there will be pricing tiers, where we'll watch it, if there's going to be any virtual goodies like BlizzCon. But what we do know is that some of the community-themed events you come to expect from BlizzCons, like the cosplay contest, or March of the Murlocs, or like the art exhibition, are going forward with an online twist. And Annie is really excited about one of the cosplay editions.
Yes, so the cosplay contest will, for the first time ever that I have seen at least, be able to include your pets. Since all of these things are happening online in our homes, I suppose Blizzard figured, hey, a lot of people have pets at home that they could somehow maybe include in these costumes and these role plays. Why not allow the pets to be part of the competition itself? And that's when I'm asking Perk, so what's Brightpaw going to be?
Oh, of course, the obvious thing is that he can go as Brightpaw, his namesake, the purple charity pet who has the scrolls and potions on his back. But I'm not sure how we could make Brightpaw be purple. Other suggestions people have sent in is that Brightpaw should be the jelly cat, but I'm not, so I guess he'd wear a skeleton onesie and he'd, I don't know, have a puffy garbage bag on him that's green, but I feel like he also wouldn't like that. He's not really into costumes, but he'd be so cute.
Yeah, I feel like cats might be difficult. Dogs, however, might be a lot more susceptible.
We also have Maya and Luna, so I was joking that we could have, the Windrunner sisters between the three of them.
The three sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think my cats would be very happy with costumes either, but who knows? Maybe if they meet Brightpaw, then they'll be more motivated.
Yeah. But I don't know, maybe I'll try. I mean, the cat doesn't actually need to, walk down like a model run where they just need to sit still for 1 second for a super cute picture.
Good point. It's probably
So
going to be pictures and not necessarily videos, or it could maybe be videos too. Or
right.
does it
Well, we'll
specify?
have let's see. I mean, we do have several months to get a picture or a short video of a cat. So,
So maybe we can make
it's
it.
yeah. Also, this is the exhibition. This isn't the actual like, serious business contest.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, original exhibitions submitted are shown during the online show. Simply send us photos and videos you'd like to be considered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they have rules as far as terms of quality, um, how to enter, um, judging. Well, pricing isn't part of that. But yeah, there is like 5 pages of super fine print, so
Mm-hmm.
you should read that.
5 pages. Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
jump into that. Start reading it now.
Right, Paul, you're
Good
super
time.
excited. Yes, 5 pages for you to enter. Don't you feel important, baby?
Mm-hmm.
He is just taking up this whole desk. He's like, I won't be
Yeah.
on screen until I'm in my costume.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see how this is pulled off. Obviously, it's a lot later than what the original BlizzCon would have been. BlizzCon is usually at the beginning of November. This is sort of mid-end February, so that's another. It's at least a 3 month delay, probably due to not having the time or maybe the right ideas pulled off in time for a normal time BlizzCon. And with Shadowlands coming out, I assume they wanted to take it a little bit easy and not rush the con itself, so that it could feel more organized and well planned for what it is, since it is something that's new. It's not something that they've done before.
See what they're going to announce. I mean, there was that rumor that they would be announcing Burning Crusade Classic, in
Mm.
the spring, do something like Naxxramas December release, and then announce Burning Crusade in spring, so it could be ready by fall when I don't know, Blizzard always will do a fall release. So
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being something they could announce at a virtual event, and
Definitely.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, 9.1.2, like something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. If the BlizzCon line would have been around the normal dates, Shadowlands would have just released, so it wouldn't only take away from that, but it would also maybe not really have anything to announce. So that's another reason why it makes sense to put it, about 3 months later instead, so that there is something new to announce at that point, to still have some hype of an announcement, because you can't just have all those different type of contests and things put together for community without Blizzard also coming out with something exciting to say. So I think the timing also makes sense from that perspective.
From a PR perspective, because you're probably more of an expert at this than me, but I was always under the impression that like the start of the year was kind of dead for conventions, and then they picked up as the year went on. So like we usually don't see things like a convention that's big in February, so Blizzard could be in the spotlight more if they announce things during this period.
That's also a very good point. I think a lot of the time, the reason why I might be completely wrong. This is just a wild guess, but from my perspective, January, February is a bad time to travel for conventions because it's straight after Christmas. Usually, it's a time where you have most likely spent a lot of money because of the holidays, and you're trying to get back into the habits of work or maybe school if you go to school and things like that. So you're sort of spending January rethinking your whole year.
Right.
That's the time people start making promises. People start going to the gym and then they quit a month after. There's like a lot of things that happen in January because people look at it like it's a new year, it's a new me. So I think because of that, people kind of lay off travels, and I think that's why conventions would also suffer. Um, but because it's online and people are most likely at home during these periods, even without the pandemic going on, I think it could work.
As you were talking, Brightpaw managed to open up WoW from the launcher. He is
It's like,
really.
why are we not playing World of Warcraft right now?
I know. He's like, I'm helping you with the notes. I'm pulling up World of Warcraft,
Yep.
getting my in-game art references.
Mm-hmm. Like, are you
Yeah,
sure you
I
got a
also
screenshot of this cat?
he is doing his own research.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I also think besides sort of, the start of the year being like less spending for people, the way the advertising cycle works, I'm sure you've seen this on Twitch as well, like because advertisers know people spend more money at the end of the year, ads are worth more when they run in the last half of year than the
Mm-hmm.
first.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of places like have less profit, less revenue at the start of the year, and they tend to go lighter on big spending things just to like balance budgets
Mm-hmm.
out. Um, so, that could be part of it too, or maybe
For
even just
sure.
traveling IRL, you have weather issues. Like, you know, you can't do an event in the northern US in January because there could be a huge snowstorm and, delay vendors. But if you're doing it online, that could free up, a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just generally, well, I guess this kind of depends where the convention is, of course. But if you do live northern enough, it gets very cold as well, and people are less likely to travel when it's really cold. So it's easier to plan something later on, a bit closer to the summers.
Yep. But yeah, so I'm really curious to see how this will go. I feel like the last time Blizzard always only announced things at BlizzCon for the longest time. And then I remember they thought out the box when they announced Hearthstone at PAX East, which I attended. I think that was like their first big thing, maybe, or one of the first in the US that wasn't at BlizzCon. And it was kind of like revolutionary for them. And then I felt they got more creative. So maybe this will like revitalize how Blizzard does announcements if it goes well, if they try something unexpected.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to
Um,
see what we'll see there.
yeah, yeah. So Brightpaw is sitting on my hand, so I can't move my hand to see more notes, but I know that next up on the notes, we are discussing the Shadowlands pre-patch blog, which is
Yep.
not an announcement.
Yep.
But reading between the lines, uh, they are talking about a lot of new features, and in the middle of it is that end of the season warning for PvP. And we've discussed previously that normally when you get the end of season warning, it comes out 2 months, two weeks before a patch,
Mm-hmm.
even if the patch date is still not known. No, like that blog is always 2 weeks before except for BFA Season 3, but that was a big mess because Blizzard turned the season off accidentally on New Year's. So
I
it was like,
remember. Yeah.
I think they only got a week notice then. So a lot of people are wondering if the pre patch is now October 6th, if we're going to take this as a 2 week warning, or if Blizzard is, now swapping to 1 week notice. Um, and yeah, so what do you think? Do you think it's the 29th or the 6th? Or I guess, 30th, 7th for EU.
I would have bet anything that it would be on the 29th, but with this late announcement, I do think that it has to be 2 weeks. It's the last season of the entire expansion. I think it's especially for PvPers, as you mentioned, I think it's really important for them to know because there's ladders where the top percentage of players get certain titles. I think it's quite important for people to know if there's been a change in scheduling. I was gonna ask you if there's been any time before where it's not been 2 weeks, and you mentioned that one time in BFA, which was clearly a mess because everything was broken suddenly. So I wouldn't really take that as a real example of it. So I would still say that it has to be 2 weeks. I think if it wasn't 2 weeks, they would have probably announced the date to make it more clear as to not confuse people, especially because of that mess that happened back then. That's how I see
Yeah.
it. What do you think?
So I remember Legion going into BFA. The actual BFA pre-patch was announced very suddenly, so there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much time. But if you go back and you look at the date of the PvP end of season blog, that was still 2 weeks before, even though we didn't yet have the BFA pre-patch date.
Okay.
So I would be leaning towards that 2 week thing, just because it could be a similar situation. And I feel like it's a missed opportunity if it was the 29th, not to announce it after the Revendreth cinematic, because
Yes, that's
a
also
lot of
true.
people, tune in, like similar when they announced Bastion right after they had the Shadowlands date. So it would be logical if after the final one, Revendreth, they would announce the pre-patch, but
Hmm.
that wasn't the case.
This would also remove the complication or potential complication of having the rep buff, which
All
lasts
right.
until the end of the month. So this means
Mm-hmm.
again that we are staying safe from any kind of weird bugs or misunderstandings or miscalculations of anything if the pre-patch is indeed on the 6th, which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like it would just be weird if you were like, I don't know, like you're like, oh, I'll turn in my Paragon cache to get lots of rep, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like it's gone, like later in the week, what's going
Mm-hmm.
on a fresh character, or
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I'll level here because lots of rep, and then it goes away. Like, you're like, oh, I'll level in BFA, I'll get rep for Pathfinder, and then you don't have the rep.
Yep.
Uh, so
So yeah, I guess we're putting our bets on the 6th now.
yep.
That'll be our final guess, final estimation.
And I'm pulling up the blog just to see if there's anything else important in it. My computer is off to the right because we have a bright paw in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you missed, we have guides to all these things live, but if you missed something, there is the level squish, the item level squish, the new starting experience, Exile's Reach, which actually has surprisingly cool transmog options. It's all like very simple but high definition simple. It's like a beautiful simple axe as opposed to a 5 pixelated axe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is the mentor system, which I believe is still broken on the beta, but in theory, if you have completed some endgame achievements, you can become a guide and mentor new players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Recruit a Friend is making some changes. There is a 30 slot bag you can get uh, when that person finishes Exile's Reach. Allied race changes. You don't need Exalted with the faction to unlock them, so that should make things easier.
Mm-hmm.
And Warlords and Legion Pathfinder are not needed for flying. And then, of course, all the endgame stuff, you've seen all over the place, like Ahead of the Curve going away, Cutting Edge going away, Hertzlocker going away, Mythic Season 4 mount going away, PvP Gladiator stuff going away. All that competitive seasonal stuff will end whenever the pre-patch is over.
I have a question for you, Perk. I was trying to find information and I felt like I saw different information in different places.
Okay.
Azeroth's Champion, the title, is that
Yeah.
going away as soon as pre-patch hits? If you want all rank 4
So,
essences, do you need to get it before the pre-patch?
okay, so the deal with that was Blizzard initially said you could work on it up to Shadowlands launch.
Mm-hmm.
And then people pointed out that, yeah, but like the Mythic Plus thing and the competitive PvP, you can't earn those, once the pre-patch hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then Blizzard clarified their blog to say, I believe I'll pull it up right now, that
Mm-hmm.
you can't, you can stop earning, you can't work on it after the pre-patch. Yeah, updated August 18th. The achievement Phenomenal Cosmic Power will no longer be obtainable once pre-patch goes live. This is due to certain rank 4 essences no longer being available to earn after pre-patch, like Vision of Perfection.
Okay. So
So,
even if you have the seasonal ones, you can no longer get, for example, the Paragon chest ones later.
right. So you must get everything now.
Okay. Good to have that settled, because that's been
Yeah.
a very popular question in my stream at
Mm-hmm.
least, and maybe there's people here who are wondering as well. But some rank 4 essences are still obtainable.
Um, all the rank 4s are going away,
Like the
I
mythic,
believe.
like the mythic bosses, for example.
Yeah, I believe all that's going away because it's meant to feel like a unique cosmetic perk.
Hmm.
And I am
Like for
oh,
example, the Because I can understand you no longer get the achievement, but I'm wondering if the essences will still, or the rank 4 essences will still drop from Nazoth, for example, and Ashara.
Oh, So I feel like Blizzard's guide does have weird wording because they've
Mm-hmm.
got these three tabs on their guide, and like one tab is going away at launch, one tab is called going away the pre-patch,
Mm-hmm.
and underneath the pre-patch tab, I am seeing if you're trying to collect the prestigious title Azeroth Champion, be sure to add earning the achievement Phenomenal Cosmic Power to your list of things to do, as all rank 4 essences can no longer be earned once Shadowlands strikes. So it's like, but that's in the pre-patch section. So
Mm.
that is confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But my guess is that they this text was in the launch tab and they just moved it over to pre-patch but didn't change you know the uh
The word.
the timing, yeah.
Yeah.
So um
Okay.
but yeah, I think also, I mean, maybe people could test this by trying to get quote one of the easier ones on the PTR. Like if you can't get something on the PTR, then that means it's
Sure.
not coming in the pre-patch.
Yep.
But yeah, I would just count on that not being available in the
Mm-hmm.
pre-patch because you can't work on the achievement, and it would be weird if some were going away but others weren't, and the achievement was going away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess October 6th, it would be a pretty short pre-patch,
Yeah,
but I
it is
mean,
a really
anything
short
kind
one.
of goes. Like it would just be 3 weeks. I mean, do keep in mind that other pre-patches have mostly been 4 weeks, so it's not super different. But I don't know. I mean, I guess there's always variation. Like we're clearly getting 2 weeks of the zombie invasion, and Mop, for example, like barely had a pre-patch event. In fact, I even think a Blizzard person reached out to me and was like, "Can you not call this an event because like people have really high expectations and we just have, a scenario we don't want people to feel bad."
Yeah.
So, maybe that's a trade-off. Would you want 4 weeks of pre-patch and no event versus 3 weeks of pre-patch, but two of them have, quests and things to buy and an interesting storyline. So, um, it does seem like they're behind, as we've said many times. So maybe that's why we're seeing pre-patch be so late as well.
I am very surprised. I remember thinking a few months ago that this pre-patch is going to be a longer one because of the huge change with the level squish. It's never been done before, but here we are with a slightly shorter pre-patch instead, and the expansion is so much sooner than I expected as well. Um, Feels like this expansion is full of surprises already.
Yeah, I think that we sort of had a theory that maybe that Shadowlands wouldn't be delayed, but the expansion would launch like super late, and then the season one stuff would be in early 2021.
Yeah, because they
And
only said 2021,
right,
or they said before. What was their wording of when it has to be? They still had about
before
a
December
month's window.
31st.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, 2 months window.
2 months
And I know that
even.
they take off for the holidays, so that's why I was sort of thinking that they would launch pre-patch like September, give people time to run around and level, and then maybe early December, once they had, all the Covenant tuning out, then we'd get the expansion, and then in January, when everyone was back from the holidays, we would get the raid like
Mm-hmm.
we, did for like Dazarlor and Ny'alotha. Um, but instead, everything seems to be moved up a bit. So, it is what it is. But,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we just want things to be quality. So I'd rather have a shorter pre-patch if they can fix more bugs. Like I know there is this exploit going around with like leveling to 50 and really quickly, and they
Mm.
keep fixing it, but there's new fast things people are finding, and I would like those to be, fixed before the pre-patch goes live. So I'm okay if it's a little shorter than people expect.
Oh yeah, if pre-patch does happen, I see people in the chat asking like, "What pre-patch is announced?" So basically, been a pre-patch blog that's out now from Blizzard, and there's been no confirmed date, but usually from the past, we normally have seen a pattern where when the PvP season is announced to come to an end, it's usually a 2 week notice. So 2 weeks wasn't specifically mentioned in this blog, but we are speculating that that is probably what we can expect. So we can probably expect pre-patch on the 6th of October, but it's not confirmed. It could be a week before that. It could be on the 29th as well. If it is on the 6th, what it means is that the pre-patch period is quite short compared to what we may have expected, as the expansion is so soon.
So, yeah, we don't really know what is going on with the pre-patch, just that there seems to be a lot of tuning, and like we said last week, Blizzard even split off the pre-patch development from the Shadowlands, like level 50-60 content, so they could work on two branches at the same time, which implies that even if the pre-patch goes live, they're still going to be doing a lot of work on Shadowlands launch content, in the background throughout the pre-patch.
I see a cat.
Yes, there is a cat. Hello, Brightpaw. Hello. Yes, you have little ears. I'm going to pick you up now, okay?
I would not have minded if the expansion and the pre-patch and everything was delayed just a little bit more, just to make sure that everything works fine. It's a little bit scary having everything so soon when there's still so many questions and so many bugs and so many things everywhere. And there he is. Aww. He looks very content.
Wave your paw. That's such a good boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so pre-patch is speculated right now to be out on the 6th of October.
But, still don't delay. Keep doing all the things you need to do. Oh, also, like, there's still even pre-patch things we don't know about. Like, are they going to do anything to make warfronts or queuing for islands easier?
That's also a very good question.
That could be kind of, like, it's not going away, but in Shadowlands, if fewer people do this, you could have really long queues if you are someone that just wants to, do the weekly warfront to get your, faction armor in the box, or, farm the mounts or island-specific armor.
Mm-hmm.
So
I wonder if they'll allow some kind of way for you to queue up by yourself and just solo it. Because surely we should be strong enough. Or if they will limit it. Maybe once you level... Did they talk anything about the level? What if you out-leveled the content? Are you still allowed to go back and do it?
Well, I haven't said anything about the islands. But if you're too high level to do islands, I think people would start rioting, like, oh, like, I didn't know that by leveling up, I can't do things anymore.
Well, as I am a completionist, I look at my add-on, all the things, and I see that I'm missing a few pieces of transmog from MOP scenarios, 3-man scenarios, and to do those, you have to be the exact level. Did you know that?
That. Ooh.
Yeah, so you have to be level 90, and then you go to talk to an NPC in the capital cities, and then you queue up for them. And since I think item level squish, or there was some kind of change that happened 2-3 years ago, which changed the scaling, so they're also extremely, extremely difficult to do. Or your voice activation, I think, is a little bit not sensitive, so sometimes we can't hear you if you're talking a little bit low, I think. I've noticed, usually it's like the beginning of your sentences. Yes.
Yeah, is this better? Because he tilted my microphone, so it was facing away from me. Let's blame it on the cat.
I think it's good now.
Okay. I was saying that something I didn't put in the notes, but when you talked about mob scenario gear, it reminded me, is that the recent data mining made it seem like they were removing the upgrade items from the crafted garrison professions. Like, there's the 6 stages and you could upgrade the item level of the garrison gear. And I think they were doing that to deal with Relic of the Past problems and scaling, but some people have pointed out that some of these stages have different colors. So if you are removing the upgrades and there's no way to get it, those crafted transmog colors could essentially be unobtainable in the pre-patch.
Yep. Indeed. I actually double checked those items just a few days ago and made sure that I had them all. So if you are a completionist, you may want to go and make sure you get them. And I think some of those crafting mats were BOP, so it might even be too late for some people to get them. So you might need to find somebody who has them.
But yeah, so like little things like that. I almost wonder if Blizzard doesn't realize that the transmog items had unique appearances because I think they were just thinking about like Relics of the Past issue. There's been a ton of bugs like, a tuxedo sells for 30,000 gold, or a vanilla item that you scale up to level 50 is super OP with a proc, and they're probably thinking about that and not realizing they had the unique appearances. So hopefully they can add back the appearances because some of the sets do look pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Brightpaw really cares about it, so that's why he's mauling my sleeve.
And it's also always fun to be able to collect things that you know will go away, because then you know it's unobtainable, which is always cool. On the topic of MOP scenarios, I see a few people in the chat talking about how they were doing all the scenarios at max level. So unless something changed, I haven't tried since I did 2 years ago or so. Unless they changed something, I do not think you can queue them up with a max level character, or anything for that matter, that are not level 90, unless it's a normal scenario. It's the heroic ones that I'm talking about, the heroic scenarios that give a special loot reward. I think you can't get that loot reward, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can now. I'll have to look into that.
I feel like this is a thing that a lot of people don't think about as much. Like people are like, oh, like mop scenarios, but it's like, no, the transmog is actually really cool. Especially when you compare it to later expansions, it definitely has a distinctive, vibe to it. It's not just like, oh, high fantasy, and it's more colorful than BFA stuff. And like you said, you like collecting everything, so you need to collect it.
Yeah, it seems like it might be a situation of you're able to queue them, but you're not able to get the loot reward. Maybe that's what it is. Since I was going specifically for transmog, I think you can't get the chest reward. Maybe. Regardless, I need to look into that again because that's interesting. Maybe something has changed. Like I said, I did this like 2 years ago or so, and I was not able to finish it easily. It was really tough because they suddenly made it really difficult after the stats squish. But yeah, that's interesting. I'll take a look again.
That Brightpaw is off my lap. I can see the notes again.
Nice.
And what is up on the notes next is Afterlives Revendreth.
Yeah.
Which took a different angle than some of the past ones. It was a little on the short side, and at first I was worried it was going to be like Maldraxxus, which, felt kind of rushed. But they took a really different approach to this one and kind of framed it as like a sort of propaganda, motivational speech, as opposed to, like a sympathetic character portrayal. And I think it worked. I think like the editing and the contrast between the music and his rhetoric and the visuals we saw, which were disturbing, I think it was very powerful.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting take on the whole thing, and it definitely gave a different feeling. It gave a not just visually but story wise, the fact that it's a propaganda sort of thing gives a really creepy vibe, and especially with how they're doing it from an artistic point of view as well. The faces when they're smiling and everything put together was just insanely weird and creepy. Like, you just get creeped out, like you don't want to be there. And we get to see more and definitely confirm that Gersh is indeed a part of it.
To be powering a lot of the anima siphoning, one of the old workhorses. And And we have to wonder, is Denathrius just keeping him in this purgatory uh, to, keep siphoning off anima so, um, the jailer is happy?
Mm-hmm.
Or is Garrosh, between his stature as a war chief, giving him lots of anima, and how he was so stubborn and prideful, does Garrosh naturally have so much to atone for that he is just, generating all this anima on his own and being resistant to redemption? Either way, it's interesting to think about because both ways make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's also he's there for the whole cinematic, and it makes us wonder: are we going to see Garrosh in a future patch? Because we've all known that Kael'thas is going to play a role in Revendreth, in the raid as well as the Covenant campaign. But we haven't heard anything about Garrosh, so people are wondering: is he going to be like a secret phase in a boss fight? Is he going to maybe be something in 9.1? Thralls in Shadowlands. It would be really interesting if Thrall and Garrosh clashed, once again.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah. And
that
it's also
would be
interesting,
so
interesting
interesting to
about time
see.
travel
Mm-hmm.
because Garrosh died in AU Draenor.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that like other souls that die in the alternate universe go to the Shadowlands, or was he special because he, came from Azeroth? There are lots of questions raised, but I think the main thing is that Garrosh, for whatever reason, whether they're exploiting him or he naturally just has so much pride and power and anima, he is sort of funneling a lot of Sire Denathrius's efforts.
Yeah,
And
literally being referred
yeah,
to as the anima battery.
yeah, and also makes me wonder, like, even if Denathrius didn't have an ulterior motive, it feels like Revendreth has been mismanaged for a while because we see a lot of the poor citizens um, having to give up their anima reserves, and one person is severely punished when they try to help other poor families. And then we see the rich with, you know, with tons of anima and
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Denathrius, sniffing the goblet of anima at the end. So it's like, well, if that's how things have been going, even if there wasn't ulterior motives, it explains why maybe there's a shortage because you are not managing this properly at all.
Mm-hmm. Because with the way that it's being used there, being abused by the people who may be of more power, uh, they would definitely have an anima problem, even if there wasn't a general one over all the four continents or covenants. So that's also really interesting because that makes the anima problem an even bigger problem in specifically that zone.
I think it really hurts, especially after you see Ardenweald, because we saw
Yeah,
there how the Winter Queen was so sad and they
yeah.
had to make sacrifices and give Ursoc up
Mm-hmm.
due to the anima problem. And now in Revendreth, they are just kind of squandering it and using it really poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not helping Ardenweald. They're just using it for their own
For
personal
for leisure.
luxury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, it also if you've missed some of our past discussions, we've also been highlighting how Denathrius kind of has dreadlord hints in various books and models. He looks like more of an elf in this one. I didn't really get dreadlord vibes from him, but I got, if you look at his guards, the gargoyles, I got a lot of dreadlord vibes from them because they've got the horns and the wings and the hooves.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I was sort of looking to see if there would be nods to that theory, and that's sort of tied into it.
Mm-hmm.
That the dreadlords could be everywhere and secretly, trying to undermine all the cosmic forces, and now we get to see, Denathrius, the Nathridim, who's not a fell dreadlord, still manipulating things in the Shadowlands.
Yep.
So, but yeah, very interesting. I know there's also been rumors that maybe there's going to be a fifth Afterlives cinematic. I don't know where that started, but people keep asking me. I think that's sort of unfair to put on Blizzard's shoulders because these take a lot of work, and we've already gotten more than in BFA and Legion, which were 3. So I think expecting 5 is a ton. And I know there was that PC Gamer magazine cover of the Jailer, but I think we're going to see him in maybe the pre-patch or launch. I don't think we're just going to have a cinematic out of the blue
Yeah.
because,
No, it definitely has to be tied to
again,
something
that's a lot
else.
of work.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money, and like you said, we got 4 episodes, and that is already quite a lot at this point of the expansion, like the sort of pre-expansion. So we will probably not get a random cinematic just like that. But it's been nice having these weekly episodes coming out and sort of deep diving into different perspectives of things, and it's been yeah, it's been a fun little ride with that. And also on the topic of Garish, we know that it's been such a it's been a long ongoing talk about Garish did nothing wrong, and now we're seeing Garrosh being essentially tortured of his anima. And what does this mean? Are we how do you feel about this, Perk, from your point of view, since you also probably know a lot more details on exactly what happened around Garrosh at the times, with his history with Thrall there, and with everything that happened in MOP and before that as well. Do you think that this is a good time for people to start feeling bad for Garrosh, because he's definitely portrayed as being abused?
Because the Uther cinematic made it seem like it almost made it seem like Arthas was controlled by something, and maybe he wouldn't have gone to the mall, like he should have been judged. And it makes you wonder, would he have gone to Revendreth first?
Mm-hmm.
So then by that logic, you're like, well, maybe it's okay that Garrosh was sent to Revendreth,
Mm-hmm.
but when you compare how we see Kale, like where he's going on like challenges and missions to see if he can be redeemed, you know, spoiler, Kale is not, chained up in a cell for the entire Venthyr campaign. That'd be a really boring campaign if he was. So it seems like however they're treating Garrosh is it seems a bit extreme, although there are a lot of dark parts to the Venthyr, like the guy being thrown into the light at the end. There are parts in Revendreth where you get tortured through the light.
Mm-hmm.
So it's reminds me of Bastion, like, maybe things are going off the rails more recently, but the underlying structure of the zone, how they operate, feels very sinister.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if, the leader is a villain. You're like, well, was he always a villain? Was he maybe always, you know, keeping souls locked up too much so we would have a luxury supply of anima? Or was this a recent thing? It makes you wonder if the zone was designed to be inherently dark and abusive to because he had ulterior motives.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it does make you feel sorry, and it's meant to be a contrast where he's talking about redemption, and there is the elegant music playing, and then we see Garrosh being tortured. It's like, well, something is wrong here,
Yeah, like
and
he's not getting a chance to be redeemed.
no, and when they call him like the old reliable workhorse, it just sounds like they're purposely keeping him in this state, even though yes, Garrosh could be proud and take a while to redeem, that they're purposely just keeping him like this for an endless supply of anima. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want him to go to the maw or to be
Mm-hmm.
redeemed. They just want him to stay as it is, because that would be the most beneficial to maintaining their life of luxury.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's
And
also a very good point, linking the two together. They're taking the anima by torturing and keeping him chained up, and on top of that, then they're using this anima for their luxurious drinks, and that makes it all so much more sinister.
right, and as we've seen, there are well-dressed Venthyr on either side of Garrosh torturing him. So this isn't totally secret. Like Denathrius has a lair, and we see Denathrius, go down by himself, and there is a figure chained. This appears to be something that the citizens are all complicit in if the
Mm-hmm.
upper class is also involved in Garrosh. And Denathrius emphasized the plural. It wasn't just, oh, we have the workforce. He said there were several of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wonder who else is
Who
being kept
else?
down there. And
Mm-hmm.
that would mean more people involved guarding and torturing them. And the list just expands.
Mm-hmm.
Or, when the poor people are bringing their anima supplies in and one tries to um, give it to another family instead, that character is visibly seized by guards in front of everyone and taken away. So this whole system is something that citizens are aware of. They're not really keeping. Uh, Everyone seems to be annoyed by the deception. Even the person who's transcribing the speech behind him, he looks very annoyed by Denathrius. Like he wants to stab him with his pen.
Yep. In terms of
So
looking at time, so looking at this from a time perspective, has Garrosh basically been there since how long has it been now?
start of Warlords. So we
Start of
know at some
Warlords.
point,
Hmm.
in some point in early Legion, the cycle of death was totally broken with Ysera being one of the last souls to go to Ardenweald.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Garrosh was before that, but then it makes you wonder about the timeline more. Like, was Garrosh sent there, as goodwill? Like, oh, he had a lot of sins, let's see if he can atone. Or was Nathris like, oh yeah, I can't wait to have him, going to use him as my anima battery even before things blew up? Like, how long has Denathrius been doing evil things in
Yeah,
Revendreth?
it's
Because we
really
know that
interesting.
he
Mm-hmm.
was also doing like sinister things with Kale as well, and Kalthos would have gone to Revendreth before Garrosh, since he died earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe Revendreth has just been corrupt for a really long time, which is sad if that's meant to be where souls are either saved or sent to the Maw. Like, you have to wonder, is Denathrius being like, oh, just rejecting people's chance of redemption just to send them to the Maw to, further feed more souls to the Maw? Makes you wonder.
Yeah, and they take the people with the most sins, right? So maybe a lot of the time people in those kind of positions happen to also be powerful, like or be quite important. I guess we see that with Garish, we see that with Kale. So maybe that's a way for them to abuse that. So they know that they can gain more anima from people like that.
Where um, there is a soul that's gone through the process and they're deciding whether the soul has been saved or not, and the
Mm-hmm.
judges are corrupt and they're like, oh, send him to the Maw. And the accuser comes in and she's like, no, like, this guy has passed his trials, like, why are you sending him to the Maw? And she like breaks up the ceremony and decides that she will vouch for the soul. So you have to wonder if
Mm.
they are mislabeling characters to then send them to the Maw as well, which is
Mm.
also really sad if the characters that aren't tortured as much, finally go through the whole process and then they are still sent there to further, you know, this Denathrius's greed.
Yep.
But yeah, really pretty dark and a lot of very interesting social insights, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised how they'd handle it, because we know he's a boss in Castle Nathria, so they can't have him be like, super nice and, cuddly like, Ursoc and bears.
Yeah.
But I think that the approach they took um, was very well suited for this.
I think so too, and it gave a really nice contrast from Ardenweald too, with their take on the anima, considering that there's an anima shortage everywhere, and yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with all 4 episodes actually. Which one's your favorite, if you have one?
The I think the Bastion one
Mm-hmm.
was the most interesting, because I think that Devos's character is very interesting to study.
Yep.
because we see her from one perspective in the game, and we see a lot of character growth, and she's someone that you could say kind of ends up a villain, but she's really sympathetic, and it's not as heavy handed as Revendreth, where you're like, oh, these people are clearly evil. You can see how Bastion is kind of trying to do the right thing, but they have a flawed mindset, and it just feels sad all around. Where I don't know, I think it's the most quote morally gray one out of
Yeah.
the bunch, and
Yeah.
I really like the visuals, like the wings and how they are shadowed or bright depending on the mood they want to set. I think was also well done. Seeing Uther was also really interesting, especially because everyone, I think, when they heard he's coming back, was like, "Oh, what a bad Paladin, like Mr. Goody Two Shoes," and now he actually has a personality.
Hmm.
So maybe there is some hope for Anduin and other Paladin-esque characters to also be three-dimensional in future patches.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
Anduin will have a personality soon too.
yeah. So I think that was my favorite one, although Ardenweald was a close second because just I like the nature vibes, and I think they did a really good job bringing the unknown character of Aralon to life, and the Winter Queen, who we haven't met yet.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think I was expecting you to say Ardenweald, but because of the sort of nature perspective, as you said, but it does make sense to feel a lot for the Bastion one because, well, Uther and Arthas are such iconic characters. Like, even just that story itself is making it weigh so much. And on top of that, you have this very interesting Devos character, too, that you see develop during that short cinematic itself. And I think it's. I was going to say that that one was my favorite too, so I was expecting you to say the other one, but it still makes
Yeah.
sense though because I think if Ardenweald had a little bit more of a deeper story instead of a new character, I think it could have competed. But with the new character, it feels like there's something about it. It just can't be better than the Bastion one. But it's
Yeah.
still very, very well done, and it still introduces a new character really nicely. It's just something about one story being heavier than the other.
Bastion has a lot of interesting implications for the future as well.
It does,
Like
yes.
nobody seems to know that Uther threw Arthas into the maw, which
Yep.
sounds really big.
Mm-hmm.
And as we learn more about Devos, that she used to be like, the paragon of loyalty, it just makes it even sadder how, she may be a Forsworn and, turning into a Dark Curian in game, but she acted out of loyalty, out of these pure motives.
Yeah.
So I just, I feel like Uther being like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll follow Bastion, without people knowing what he did, I feel like that's going to blow up in the future. That doesn't sound very good.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good
Um,
point. Bastion definitely also opens more questions and more paths to be explored later in terms of what will happen due to these actions. Whereas Ardenweald has a bit of a more focused path on seeing how things are getting bad and how something has to be done for it, and the sacrifice, of course, that we saw in that cinematic. They're both very good, though. They're both very good. And I think I would put Revendreth third there and Beldrax's fourth. Uh, Simply because I
yeah, order.
find. Hmm?
I would agree with the order. Yeah.
Yeah? Because
Yeah.
I feel like the sinister feeling, there's something about that cinematic that just feels so. It makes you like mad at them. Like, I don't know, it
Like
creates an
fun.
emotion.
Like
Sorry?
it's not bad. It's like I just wouldn't like rewatch it for fun because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Um,
Which
you
one?
know.
The Revendreth?
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable and like mad at them for abusing
Mhm.
something that there's a shortage of, and the
Yeah.
way that you watch them just take the anima for fun, the way that you see these
The
other
torture.
the torture on Garish, and then the other people, the more poor people or normal people that are withering, literally as they're giving away the last bits of anima. It just feels really powerful in that sense. And then which makes me kind of rank it, I guess, a little bit higher than Maldraxxus. But Maldraxxus was also very good, though. I'm still very curious about the future of seeing more of Draka, and it was still a very well made cinematic too. Like they're all really good.
Do different things with each one. I just wish the Drakkar one was a little longer, because if it was meant to be a character study for someone unknown, I think seeing more flashbacks of her past life would help, like, have her Maldraxxus actions give that more more weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
But they were, like I said, they were all good in different ways. I feel like they all tried to do different things with, like, color schemes and pacing. The Bastion one tried to do a lot with light and dark colors and the wings, while Ardenweald had a lot of, like, blues versus browns, and Revendreth was sort of like a propaganda video, and Maldraxxus was very, like, brown and green, which ties in, nicely to the Legion hints. So I think it's cool that they tried to do a wide range of creative offerings.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this art style. I would always like to see more of these things, even maybe later on in the expansion when the story is pretty nuanced, and maybe a few in-game cutscenes doesn't really convey it. Like, I could see something like this being really good for 8.3, which ended up feeling kind of rushed with, like, N'Zoth development and his death. But imagine if there was, like, an animated short in the style that showed N'Zoth's death and little snippets of, citizens in the towns getting back to normal, but still, reflecting and feeling bad on the war that happened. Like, I could see something like this being used to tie up loose ends nicely and give some hype to other patches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So why don't we highlight the mount? But first, I think we have a lot of subs to announce, which is awesome.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's thank some people who are supporting the channel.
Yeah.
We got Lincoln with his 33-month resub. Thank you very much, Lincoln. We got Noma with a 2-month resub. Squishy Pone with 3-month resub. Sarah Mentis, fresh subscription in the channel. Thank you and welcome. We got Willow Wisp with a 5-month resub, and Birth Year with a fresh sub as well. I was about to say fresh resub. That doesn't make sense. With a fresh sub as well. Thank you very much. And yeah, welcome to the community. Very nice to have the support for Wowhead. And with that, we can show off the mount that won the recent contest that we talked about last show. If you guys don't remember, I can quickly remind you that there was a contest that Blizzard had with a list of mounts with descriptions only, no pictures, that you could vote for to be designed and created for in-game purposes in the future, and you had the power to vote for which mount you wanted to be created. And I was on team Spellbook, which unfortunately did not win. Perk was on team what was it called exactly? The cat one?
Slime Saber. Yeah.
Slime Saber. Yeah. Perk was Team Cat, the Slime Saber, and that one unfortunately did not win either. I know that there were a lot of Team Caterpillars out there as well. Unfortunately, they weren't the winners either. The winner is the Ancient Tree. Or the Wandering Ancient, which is what they called it, to be exact.
Cool with it. It's a Night Elf style mount.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think it would be neat if somehow they could tie it into a charity. They not this mount, but I feel like the tree with all the wildfires going on by Blizzard's actual campus feels kind of symbolic. So I don't know. Maybe if it could tie
that
into,
makes
like,
it beautiful,
plant
actually.
the tree, help our California fires. I think that could be cool. But Night Elf Pride. I think I'm not upset with the tree. I think that was maybe my number 2 choice.
I'm okay with the tree too because I do feel like it's a pretty unique idea to have as a mount. We don't really have a tree mount like that, and we do have tree pets that we can somewhat match with it. So I think I'm okay with it. I'm not
Yeah.
upset.
So,
And the picture that we have here in the article is fan made, right? Or.
yeah, so we don't know what the final art looks like yet, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of artists have been showing examples of it, either doing something very realistic or silly. We even had one person come up with various use effects and put the tree on a
Yeah.
skateboard. Uh, yeah, people have had a lot of fun imagining what this could look like, but none of this is official right now.
Yep, these are all fan made pictures just based on the descriptions that Blizzard gave us. We actually have no idea exactly how it's going to look like. It is guessed, and probably a good guess that it will be some kind of seat at the top of the tree. But who knows? Maybe you end up being inside the stomach of it. We don't know yet. So we'll see. I have the picture of the skateboard too. Just let me see if I can pull it up as well. For some reason, it was not in the slideshow already. Here we go.
This one was done by Peter Yu on the skateboard. In the linked article, we have credit for all the artists as well as where you can find them more on like Instagram or DeviantArt, other ArtStation, other places they may have their fan
True.
art posted at.
Yep. I'll repeat the names as well just to make sure that they get the credit they deserve. So this one is made by Peter Yu, the tree on the skateboard. The tree has been given mount abilities and has got that cool design. The previous tree that I showed, let me show it again, was this one. And this one is made by Yagis Kani. And this is his interpretation of how it might look like. And if you check out the article of today, you can have the direct links to these different pieces of arts.
Say just that we don't know when we'll be seeing the final art. We know that we will be getting the mount in Q1, which, so now that we've got the virtual BlizzCon announced, and that's Q1, I wonder if they will be revealing the final mount at this BlizzCon event. Because the timing lines up.
Wait, what were you thinking about the timing? Can you tell me your thought process again?
So the virtual BlizzCon is in early 2021, and we know we are getting this free mount in our character inventories in early 2021. So I wonder if they will reveal what the mount looks like at the BlizzCon event, because the timeframes would line up.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. It does feel like a long time to not even get a preview. Maybe we'll get some kind of preview, and then the announcement there will be like, you know what? Here's the final version, and you can use it right now. And then everyone logs into their games.
Wonder what they're going to do about a charity item this year, because normally at BlizzCon they announce like a charity pet or something to give away in November, and through the end of the year, all the proceeds go to a charity.
That's
and
true.
without a BlizzCon this year, I wonder what they're going to do. It might be interesting if they took like the number 2 runner-up and did that as a charity item. I think that could be interesting.
Are you saying that because Team Cat is number 2?
Yes, well, they always do cats for charity. They had Brightpaw for charity. They had Mischief for charity. They even had a Mischief plushie. Where is my Mischief plushie? Oh, there it is. It's okay. Plushies are gonna fall. But yeah, they even have this little guy for charity. Wow, Brightpaw must be asleep. He's not coming over and playing.
I just double checked, and the spell tome is 4th, not even 3rd. So you can go on and speculate about potentially a number 2 for charity and be happy, but I can't do anything. There's no way we're gonna get the 4th mount. I
Aw.
want the book. I mean, having said that, I think when they announce these different mounts, it's probably something that they've been talking about internally in general in terms of mount models. So I can imagine that some type of book will probably become a mount in the next 2 years or so. Don't know what patch, don't know what kind, don't know for what. Maybe it ends up being a store mount. I don't know, but
Maybe if Khadgar ever returns, he'll be like, "Hello, you have made a mess of things. I am back with all my knowledge and my library of books."
I do hope the first one will not be on the store. But I think it's definitely a peek into a potential new model that they might explore, and I look forward to
So,
that. It's gonna be
yeah.
cool. I wanna fly on a book, okay, so I can act like a mage as a warlock.
So we talked a bit before how there's been lots of data mining builds going on, and a lot of it is more minor stuff. But we found this really interesting encrypted thing that we wanted to highlight, because it's making it seem like we're going to get some sort of special cutscene with lore between Anduin and the jailer. Uh, and what's interesting is that the encrypted models point to a creature that is called Prince Anduin, not King Anduin. And all the other Shadowlands entries for him are King. So you wonder if, like, Anduin is
Yeah,
seeing his past,
like how is he a
or,
prince again? Mm-hmm.
right, like, are they being like, oh, you were such a bad prince, we're gonna torture you with memories of your father dying? Like, you have to
Mm-hmm.
wonder if it's some sort of flashback event. And we're speculating there's going to be some lore because the last time they did something like this, it was when we had patch 825, which saw the end of the Fourth War and death of Sourfang.
Mm-hmm.
And they hid Sourfang's model because it had the special dying, lying on a rock animation, so that could have given away how that ended.
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Yeah.
Um, so technically speaking, if Turalian takes over the throne and Anduin is back, would he then be considered prince?
I mean, I mean, Turalian might be like, you are, well, he's not, Anduin's not a minor. I feel like if Anduin was under 18 or whatever the,
Mm-hmm.
like, child age limit was, he could
Mm-hmm.
be a prince because he didn't come of age yet. But I think once you're a king, you can't, like, unbecome. You can't step down as king.
Okay.
Um,
So there's no way
uh,
Turalian just took the spot.
I mean, oh, he could. I wouldn't rule that out, but I think I feel like for now, Anduin is still a king because for all other Shadowlands data mined entries of Anduin, he has the king title, not prince. This is the only one tied to
Gotcha.
the encrypted
Okay.
model.
Yeah. Then it sounds like it's just a temporary thing. So most likely, yet like you mentioned, some kind of cinematic that dives into his past. Most likely.
Yeah, we also don't know what the model looks like, but we know the size of them, and the size of the model is different than the other three Anduins we've had. So that
Mm.
implies that it's probably going to look different because if it was like if it was just the same animation, same appearance, the model would have like a very similar size. But if it looks different, maybe it's like when he's younger, maybe he's wearing less armor, maybe there's an interesting animation.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. In contrast, the jailer's model size that's encrypted is very similar to his existing model, so he's probably not going to have a ton of changes.
Gotcha. That's gonna be interesting
Um,
to see.
yeah.
Uh,
So we know that Anduin is in the Maw along with
yep.
other faction leaders at the start of Shadowlands. And he kind of has more of a special treatment than the others, as you've known, like him and Sylvanas don't usually get along. So, yeah, we're just curious what is going to go on with
Mm-hmm.
those two. And we were also saying before that it seems Uther, another, Paladin, following the light, very good character. His character has gotten more complicated, so you have to wonder if Anduin will get some depth. I mean, he does. It's more subtle. I feel like whenever Anduin could be in the spotlight, they sort of don't do a great job with it. Like, I think you could have done a lot in 8.3 about Anduin fighting, like, the N'Zoth threat by his self with Sylvanas out of the picture, but we don't really see that too much in the game. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they've missed some opportunities to highlight Anduin being interesting. Um, so hopefully they will get it right in Shadowlands.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we'll see
Um,
some good growth and more personality.
yeah.
We did see a hint of it when he punched Rathian.
Yeah, like it would have been cool to see more of that, and he plays such a big role in like Shadows Rising, trying to keep everyone together and ruling and appointing Turalyon and trying to, work with the Night Elves. And there's even a scene where he has to, like, there's too much stress, so he tries to pretend to be a commoner
Mm-hmm.
at like a Goldshire bar. So he's trying to be a normal person that's dealing with anxiety, and I think that was like it was very meaningful to he seemed very human, not just like a perfect person always in control. And maybe not all of that translates that well into the game, but it would be nice if we could see more of the behind the scenes conflict in game.
Indeed.
So this next topic might be interesting to you, Annie, as a collector who also does high end things. We've talked a bit about the Great Vault before, how um, you can do a bunch of like raid or mythic dungeon or PvP content, and as you do more and more stuff, more weekly chest gear options open up to you.
Exactly. So
And
this is the
we've now, yeah, go ahead.
Shadowlands. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. You can talk about
Yeah,
it.
I just wanted to like throw in a comment in case people don't know what the Great Vault
Mhm.
is. This is basically the Shadowlands equivalent of what we currently have as the Mythic Plus chest, our weekly chest. In Shadowlands, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Well, not complicated in terms of like difficult to understand, but it's going to be a little bit more details to it. The idea is that you still get one item per week, but you can do different things, as Perk mentioned, in order to increase the different options that you can choose from to not be disappointed by seeing one item again for maybe the third week in a row, or the same slot the third week in a row. Not very fun. So now we have some extra information on this, and that's what Perk was going to mention.
Like any of the options, you get a special item called Brimming Anima Reserve, and that lets you deposit reservoir anima into your Covenant Sanctum. And a lot of people at first, I think, assumed that when there was going to be Great Vault currency, the currency could, I don't know, allow you to buy gear. But so far, what we've seen is that the anima is used for collectibles like all of the Covenant mounts and pets, or even Reputation mounts and pets and transmog. So I suppose the anima is meant to be like, if you're someone that isn't super hardcore, you should still do the weekly chest and then get the anima to get if you're a collector that wants everything, this can help. But I know a lot of people were surprised because they assume currency in their mind, like PvP currency or,
Mm-hmm.
Titan Residuum. They were thinking that sort of currency, not, currency for mounts and pets.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about this? Like, were you expecting the currency to be more gear focused, or are you okay having this, boost to, buy mounts and pets through the weekly chest?
Yeah, so I am personally I've been a decent fan of the Titan Residuum system. I feel like it was a great alternative to being unlucky or potentially not being able to raid to get the higher item level chests if you do spend time doing PvP, because then those can be converted. And just getting the wrong, or not the wrong, but just getting Azrites in general felt good to be able to disenchant into a currency, which then gives you a new one. I like that. And I was hoping that this would be a similar situation where if you are unlucky and keep getting gear you don't want, maybe a few weeks in a row or maybe even a couple months, uh, it would be enough to then pick one piece that you want. But it seems like it's going to be purely cosmetic, which is I feel like it's a missed opportunity for an RP element of making your character stronger. I think even if it would take time, such as 2 months, um, I think it would still be fun. I mean, even the Titan Residuum, if for picking a specific one, it still took quite a long time compared to picking one that was random. You know, depending on which slot you wanted, you could pick a headpiece, shoulder piece, or chest, right? You could do similar things for the other pieces like bracers, waist, feet, similar things to make it a little bit cheaper. And then if you want a specific one, make it take longer and be more expensive. Um, so I'm a little bit disappointed from a gearing point of view. I think even if it would have taken a long time, I think it should have been a currency for gearing. In terms of cosmetics, I have a question. These mounts and pets, are they from other sources or is the only source?
These are the vendor things from a lot of either the Covenant vendors or the Reputation vendors.
Okay, so it's things that can be okay, things that you can find
So,
from other sources.
oh no, well you can only buy them from the vendor. So, like when you earn Reputation with a Shadowlands faction, you need to use anima to buy something instead of gold.
Oh, it's the same.
So like
Of course.
yeah, so
Okay,
like the Exalted mount, I believe takes anima, not
gotcha.
gold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm a
Something
big fan of it. It because it feels like something was taken away from an idea that I thought was the way this was going to work. But what were you thinking?
Oh, I was going to say that I just wanted to clarify something just looking at the comments that uh, if you are someone that maybe has taken a break and you need anima to work towards renown, that people are saying that this could serve as a catch-up, and Blizzard did say something that um, maybe a catch-up mechanism would be from the weekly chest. So maybe this is meant to be a way to help people, I don't know, that are really behind or need to hit a renown level.
Like an extra source of anima.
Yeah.
But it feels bad that you're choosing between that currency then and your weekly
Yeah.
pieces of gear.
I will say though that it's only 500 anima, and a lot of the items are like 2,000, 3,000 anima. So it's not like, oh, I need, I'm losing out on amount because I didn't select the anima option 1 week. It's a pretty
Yeah.
small
Okay.
amount of anima.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, of course, all this is subject to change. Blizzard has not, I believe, made any blue post on how the Great Vault works. This is just us, doing things on the beta and being like, oh, look, this is what popped up when we opened things this week. We also highlighted that we got duplicates on our Great
Oh
Vault things,
yeah,
and Ian quickly confirmed that was unintended, and they were looking as to how that happened, so it
that was
would
a
definitely
quick
not happen.
response. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, people were so upset. I mean, it's rightfully so. Like the point of people don't want duplicate items on bonus rolls, and this was like
Yep.
people were like, what's the chance that I could now get 9 items of the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Even if it's unusual, it should still not be possible.
Right.
So that's
So
nice to hear that confirmation.
yeah. Um, but yeah, we also have a lot of weapon models. Kind of surprising because we thought stuff was winding down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we have some Maw weapons that match the Maw raid sets, aka the legendary armor, pretty well. And we are wondering if this means that there could be more like Maw endgame content or a raid in the future, because uh, we have many tints for these weapons, and we have 5 unused tints for the armor sets, and they look really good together.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they have to be used in some form.
I agree. Wait, my slide is not showing the armor sets with it. Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. I wanted to show you guys how it... Okay, I'm on the wrong page. Give me 1 second. There we go. That was not the right weapon. We're talking about these weapons. So this is an example of putting the weapons together with the armor sets, going through the different ones. And we also have a running slideshow of just the weapons themselves. This one looks really good.
Yeah, I really like the staff and the two-hand sword. I think those look really good with the cloth and plate armor set. And yeah, I hope we get to see these in game in some form. We know that they just set up the cosmetic wing and rewards on Torghast, but they don't have any armor and weapons yet, and there's an opportunity to add stuff like this.
Yeah. And they look really nice with the armor sets.
Yeah, I know people are like, oh, I wish there was, a Frostmourne-esque sword to go with my plate armor, but looks like that's not the case. But we do have, speaking of Arthas Uther symbolism, we do have a Paladin silver hand sword that has gotten many people very happy.
Yeah, this was the weapon that I accidentally showed instead. So now we're on the right page. Now we're showing the Paladin weapons.
So this is the Death Warden's Great Blade, a two-handed sword featuring the silver hand symbol. And this was, I believe the asset was added in Legion, but it wasn't put on an item until now, so it's been in the files for really. And it drops from a very interesting rare. It drops from the Dark Watcher, who is one of the Forsworn, and you can only engage the rare when you're dead, and once you talk to her, she will res you, and then you challenge her.
That's really cool.
So I think there's lots of Uther symbolism here about the dying paladin and the Forsworn Dark Kyrian dropping the paladin-esque weapon. This isn't strictly a paladin weapon. Any plate two-handed sword person can use it, but paladins are obviously really excited about it because so much of their class identity is tied to the Silver Hand organization, and a lot of people try to already make sets using the Lightbringer tabard or the Legion set that has the fists on it as well. Ashbringer has it, so people are really excited that they can have this sword for their class fantasy.
I think it's also a really cool concept to talk to an NPC as you're dead and then go through with a challenge, a duel. Or wait, yeah. Is it a duel?
It's a challenge where you're dead and you talk to the NPC and she says something like, oh, like your soul is bright. I can, normally like you'd be stuck in the maw, but I can see that you have so much energy. So, I will, resurrect you so you can go back to Bastion, some sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you vanquish me, you can go back to Bastion. Something, some interesting dialogue. And I believe she can also drop some conduits, and she can drop the red version of this sword. And the blue one has been data mined, but we don't know. It's on a placeholder weapon right now, so we might be getting the blue version too, which Alliance people are probably happy about because it's very, blue and gold Paladin color.
Yep.
So, really exciting weapon. And we, for our last two topics, we've got a lore topic, but then before that, we also have a covenant topic, how to change covenants in Shadowlands. And I feel like every week we have something to share, like, oh, we found the NPC, or oh, we did one quest, and now I think we finally have the full story as to how you change covenants. And it basically is it's centered around the weekly reset. So you have to do one quest before, and one quest after, and they're both pretty simple. You just have to do tasks for that faction, like world quest or dungeon bosses. But it's not, a lot of people are getting confused and thinking it's like a full 2 weeks process, and it's not. Like, you just need to do one before the reset and one after, so it can be just a really short process, just centered around that reset.
Yep.
So essentially, you will only be able to swap covenants once a week. So for example, on Friday, you could do quest 1, and then on Tuesday, you could do quest 2, and swap, and that's only like 3 days. And if for whatever reason you're like really into swapping back and forth with covenants, that same week you join the second one,
Yeah.
you could then start on, you know, the first quest for another covenant, and then the week after do two, so you could essentially have a different covenant every week.
Yep. I
Which
feel like
seems better than we thought when we are like, oh man,
mm-hmm.
it must be like 3 weeks before, you can only do one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that wasn't as bad as people thought. But what were you going to say?
I feel like changing it somewhat weekly sounds okay, but then there's a few other things to take in consideration too, like how much renown do you lose, or do you lose
I
on
think
by changing?
I believe that the renown is kept. You don't lose your levels when you swap.
Well, if you
So,
start doing the quests for the other one, then you're missing out on what you could have potentially added. No?
I don't think so. I don't think you're like locked out of the covenant.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so I
So
mean,
maybe
yeah,
it
so,
works out fine then.
yeah. So I think I don't think there's any penalty, like, you're gonna lose a week of getting renown for that. Um, but
Because don't you have different amounts of renown for different covenants? Or
um,
more like, aren't you progressing one as you're in that covenant?
yeah, I'm not sure if renown is character wide or not.
Hmm.
But like, you don't if you were like Ardenweald and you were renown 10 and then you uh left Ardenweald and came back, you would still be at renown 10 with them. Um,
Okay.
I mean, but I feel like maybe I don't know, if people are like really maybe at a certain point when people have enough renown to where they can access all the soul binds how they want, they wouldn't have to, I don't know, worry about that. If it's like, oh, well,
That's true.
I have all three soul binds, I can just,
Yeah.
swap back and forth every week now because I have everything I want.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
it's just if people, I could see maybe if you swap back and forth between two covenants, like suppose you suppose you do quest one, and then the weekly reset happens. You do your renown stuff for the covenant you're about to leave, and then you go do the second quest and join Covenant B. Maybe if you finish up your renown for the first covenant before hopping over to the second, and you always keep swapping back and forth each week, maybe you could, I guess, earn renown between two covenants. It
Yeah.
seems like a lot of micromanaging, though.
Yeah, it does. But we know that the top players will
Yeah,
definitely do that if
right.
it's necessary.
So, so
So,
I mean, it
yeah.
does seem possible that if you're a top player, just make sure to do it. You could just make sure to turn in, do your
Mm-hmm.
renown stuff for the covenant you're leaving before you swap to the new one.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, because if but we're not sure if Blizzard will let you gain renown in both covenants because, like you're saying, if you can only pick one covenant to earn renown with, then one is going to fall behind with conduit sockets, traits, or even a soul bind, and people
Oh.
may find that too much of a risk because some of the soul binds you unlock later in the campaign.
Also, speaking of conduits, so this means we have covenants on a 1 week cooldown and conduits on a 1 week cooldown.
Yeah,
That
and
feels
we don't
kind
know
of
how
strange
conduit ranks work. Yeah,
because then you lock two different things.
right. Like, yeah, it seems like it's quickly going to spiral out of control as you're keeping track of what resets when.
It's like, I'm gonna change my covenant, but I I'm still on cooldown on conduits. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. I guess. It is still a week cooldown, right, on the conduits?
Um, we also don't know how the ranks work, so I wonder if that's going to impact something. Like, suppose you're like, oh, I'm gonna swap between Soulbind A and B depending on what raid or Mythic Plus, but then
Mm-hmm.
you have a really OP conduit rank in Soulbind A, and you're like, well, maybe it's not awesome for Mythic Plus, but like this conduit is mega OP,
Yeah.
so I'm going to stick with it. But we don't know how ranks work at all. It's sort of still totally up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that is how you change covenants currently. Still a lot of question marks, still subject to change. This is not an official Blizzard blog. This is just us doing
Playing the
Covenants
beta.
on the beta.
Yep.
Blizzard has been changing around a ton of things tied to Covenants, like the levels where you unlock like Renown, Soulbind, Transmog, all that's been changing. The quest you do for each step of the Covenant campaign, they've been getting shuffled around, like what can you do week 1 versus week 3. So that is still very much up in the air, and I wonder if this will also change as well. I wonder how many people even know that you can change covenants on the beta, because like I said, it hasn't really been publicized officially anywhere.
Yep.
So that is the Covenant deal.
Yep, that's the updates so far on the Covenant, which brings us to our last topic, which is a bit of a lore dive and also spoilers, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think this should be spoilers.
The spoiler tag will go up, so as long as this is up, if you're not interested in lore spoilers, you may want to mute. I'll give you guys a few seconds to mute. And 3, 2, 1. We have some interesting lore on Vol'jin and Bwonsamdi.
So the Night Fae Covenant campaign has been bugged for a while on beta, and it was finally playable this past week. So there was a lot of story that has since come to light, and 2 of the Covenant chapters address Vol'jin and Bwonsamdi. And the basics are, we learn that, confirmed, that Muzala told Vol'jin to appoint Sylvanas war chief. But then, so that's one question answered. But then we don't know who brought Vol'jin back, because Muzala then said he wanted to bring Vol'jin to the Maw, but Vol'jin was too strong and he couldn't do that. And we also have even more questions as we learn that Bwonsamdi and Muzala formed some sort of deal where Bwonsamdi got his in return for doing something, and that sounds really bad. And I'm sure that's going to come back to haunt Bwonsamdi, because he won't tell us what it is. He just says that, you know, destroying Ardenweald was not part of their bargain. That was going too far. And we have
I see a tail.
Bright Paw. No, go over here, Bright Paw. Oh, he's playing with the cat now. Good cat. Okay, he can go play with this.
Yeah.
So lots of questions there. And it looks like Muzala has been trying to feed evil Loa anima from the wild seeds so they can strengthen faster and come back and do evil things. And the part that is very interesting with Vol'jin is that when Vol'jin learns that he's been kind of played by Muzala, he decides to go into the Maw and try to make things right and rescue some of the wild gods that were kidnapped, including the Zandalari Loa that we saw die during the BFA storyline, which is very interesting. But then the plot thickens further, because while we're able to save some characters, we encounter Razan, the Loa of Kings, and he is too far gone to be saved, but with his dying breath, he gives Vol'jin the remainder of his essence. So Vol'jin is a mortal with the essence of a Loa now. So is Vol'jin going to be the new Loa of Kings? And when the Winter Queen sees him, she gives him the opportunity to regenerate, just like the other wild gods. So yeah, lots going on there. You should watch the Wowhead playthroughs or read the article, because Bwonsamdi has a lot of really funny one-liners.
He's always been so funny, always so sarcastic.
Yeah, he has one of them that I thought was pretty interesting. Was Bwonsamdi just being like, "Oh, Muzala, no one likes you. Like, you know, you need, if not for the jailer, you would be nothing. Uh, he's just taunting him.
Yeah.
And he's sort of teasing the Winter Queen. And yeah, it's just overall a really fun character, but kind of worried he didn't have the best set of deals with Muzala. You also have to
Yeah.
wonder if the whole deal with Sylvanas, if maybe like him and like maybe Bwansamdi like tampering with Sylvanas was part of like his ongoing deal.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it wasn't even completely intentional, but whatever the deal is, somehow helped Sylvanas, maybe. Because
Yeah,
because I think Vol'jin, when he went back in, when he went and asked the Lich King, because he asked Bwansamdi too, right? If it was him who had whispered him, and we heard from Bwansamdi that he is indeed not on Sylvanas' side. Um, so the deal may not directly help Sylvanas, but maybe it somehow indirectly did that Bwansamdi may not have been aware of. So that's going to be interesting too. If he realizes that part of his deal helps Sylvanas, maybe that will also kind of, put them together, make them feel like they're on the same side in this. And Vol'jin has been basically lost the entire expansion, not knowing what's going on and not knowing who whispered him, and he's just sort of not grounded anywhere. So it's interesting to see him now in a new place. Like,
I mean he's in a pod now, so he's not going
yeah,
to be helping us anytime soon.
no,
But maybe he'll regenerate,
yeah,
by the end of Shadowlands, and he could come back and I don't know help Talanji or the Horde, Horde Council. I think that could be interesting moving forward when we get out of the Shadowlands.
yeah,
I also think that the Bwansamdi character development is pretty interesting because if he was doing bad things for Muzala, it seems and more recently he's now tried to be more sympathetic and not just someone that, makes deals. Like, even in BFA, we're like, oh, he made this deal with Rastakhan and then didn't help him when he died, and now he's
oh
happy
yeah,
Talanji's in charge. But then we learn that he was actually, throughout BFA, trying to save all the trolls, including Rastakhan, from going to the Maw. And, that was actually, that was very sweet. And it seems the Winter Queen doesn't like him, but Bwansamdi is apparently trying to do the right thing and help bring back the spirits to Ardenweald um, for her, and views the destruction of Ardenweald as going too far. So maybe Bwansamdi was, I don't know, kept in the dark somewhat, and now he is getting more of a conscience, which could be interesting.
mm-hmm. I'm really
Uh,
curious about Vol'jin. I want to see more.
yeah, I don't want. I mean, I understand why he has to go into the pod, but I'm like, couldn't you just, I don't know, keep floating around the Shadowlands in your like
Yeah,
enhanced lowest state? Like that would have been fine. You just, I'm like, cool, you got Razan's essence. Like, just go back to Azeroth and like
yeah,
be the Loa of Kings now.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that all of that is I want to see more of the story. Like, I know they all end on cliffhangers, and Ardenweald has a lot going on, but I want to know what happens next to Vol'jin, because we also have the Tehran story in Ardenweald that is not resolved either.
Yeah,
So it seems like the Alliance and Horde both have cliffhangers that might, you know, go on in the future.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would love to see. I think people really like Vol'jin, and it was sort of like, oh, a war chief that didn't have like a god complex, who was down to earth, who didn't do anything bad and was taken before his time. So it would
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see
Mm-hmm.
him give his expertise in the future.
I was also very unhappy with how he died as well, because it felt like it was just a random occurrence, random demon in the middle of fighting. So I feel like Vol'jin is not done.
I think
We
he has
need
a lot of
more.
character growth to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he just has a really
Oh,
charismatic personality too.
I see a
Oh, his
cat
bright paw
laying
on the
on an
screen.
arm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he's on my arm.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
He really. I think the laptop is hot, so he keeps trying. It warms up the area, and then he pushes it out of the way and sits on the warm area.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been
Of
alternating
course.
between
Yeah.
cat in the center, laptop on the right, or
Yeah.
laptop in the center, cat on the right,
Yep.
to take advantage of the warm.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a good boy working on it.
I see a comment in the chat. Yeah, he died so easily by trash mobs. Like it felt a little bit like that. Like he died to the trash, in this raid.
Now that we know that maybe the Dreadlords were, working for death all along and trying to manipulate the Burning Legion.
Yeah.
And some of the artifacts the Burning Legion got a hold of had Maw energy. Maybe those trash mobs were, I don't know, empowered or,
Yeah.
sort of were nudged, to overpower him in a way that it normally would not have made sense.
Mm-hmm. I think that would make it feel more satisfying in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, Varian went out really heroically, defying Gul'dan. Then we get a follow-up quest line with Anduin grieving him. Plus Varian was in that really nice Legion announcement cinematic, fighting with Sylvanas, which is actually kind of sad when you look back, because it seemed like it's like, wow, like they're working together against the Legion, and now it's like, oh, like he didn't mean any of that. That's so sad. It makes it less epic. But yeah, Vol'jin, he wasn't present at that. He just like showed up and died.
Yeah, exactly. It felt way too sudden. It felt really random. So if they could explain this by some kind of empowered something inside those Legion demons, I would be happy.
Yeah, plus we still don't know who brought Vol'jin back, because it seemed like going back was not part of Muzalla's plan. His plan was to take Vol'jin to the Maw, but Vol'jin was just going back himself. And it makes you wonder if Bonsomdi had a recent change of heart, because remember in BFA, when you find the Vol'jin urn, Bonsomdi's like, oh no, like the boss is going to hate this. And it's like, wait, so like did Bonsomdi know that Vol'jin's body could be, like, it was planned to go to the Maw? Like, was that maybe something that made him reflect and realize, like, things were, messed up? Like, Vol'jin was learning things in BFA, but did that make Bonsomdi less opportunistic and realize that he was on the wrong side in just helping Muzalla? It's all very interesting. We still have those questions to go over.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I want to see more.
Yeah, I think that the quest line is really interesting because you have a few very alliance-centric chapters, like Tyrande and the Night Warrior, and then you have a few Horde-centric chapters, but all the characters are, like, very heroic and have special magic powers, so it doesn't feel like, it's not like you're doing a chapter and watching the war campaign where one faction is bombing the other. They're just cool characters, like, progressing on their journeys. So I think everyone can appreciate it.
And I think that actually covers all the things that we wanted to talk about today. Is there anything else you want to say under spoilers, is what I was going to ask.
Well, we can say one thing quickly about the Arden Wheel campaign. I don't have this written up on Wowhead, but we have a video of it. Apparently Arelon dies in the Arden Wheel campaign.
What?
And I'm, like, really confused because they just made him the focus of a cinematic. And he just dies in this short cutscene.
No. Why would you introduce... And... Because it's the same with Devos, then.
Right, yeah.
Because Devos... we're in spoiler, right? So we're good. Because Devos is confirmed to be a boss.
In the dungeon.
Yeah, in the dungeon boss.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to these characters, we end up liking them, and then they're just gone.
Yeah, and, like, the third storyline is the Drizzt from BFA. They're back, and they're doing the attacks on Ardenweald, and we eventually repel them, but along the way, one of the bosses, Arelon, he's captured and disguised as the enemy, and, I think he warns, his fellow Wild Hunt members as he's dying. But yeah, he just kind of sort of dies unceremoniously halfway through the campaign, and we're like, oh, like, I mean, I know, like, if they're trying to go for a realistic vibe, like, you know, not everyone that undergoes hardship gets an epic moment to
Yeah.
balance it out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes life is unfair,
Mm-hmm.
but it just seemed to be a curious narrative choice to focus on um, the character that ends up dying, as opposed to maybe another member of the Wild Hunt that turns into, like, a soulbind
Mm-hmm.
instead, like an
Mm-hmm.
adventure fall. Maybe it just feels kind of sad, because I thought they did a really good job of introducing him as a new character, better than Draka even, and it's just sad he's not around.
Yeah, I agree. That is sad.
Yeah,
Him
it is
dying in
moving
the
together like.
campaign, that means he's dying during, like, when we are in Shadowlands?
Yeah, so it's like, does he have the same fate as Ursak? Like, are they both just gone for good? That's really
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, because um, I saw some comments in the chat as well. What does it mean being dead if we're already dead?
No, like, is it just like your anima is like totally gone? I feel like they need to
Hmm.
explain this better.
Hmm. Interesting.
But yeah, so I was a little surprised to see that. Um, and he just sort of went out kind of inconspicuously in the middle, like not in the final battle or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Maybe it will be like an Avengers style thing, where at some point many characters that die early in Shadowlands will come back. You never know.
Hmm. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so that was just one detail.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so hopefully I'll write up that angle of Ardenweald sometime this week. If it's a pre-patch, probably not, but if no pre-patch, then I'll probably work on that lore summary like I did with Vol'jin. It just takes a lot of typing to.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. Can I remove the
Um,
spoiler tag now, you think?
yeah, we can do that now.
Okay,
We can
awesome.
remove it.
Spoiler
Yeah.
tag is gone.
So yeah, that's about it. There are a few smaller things that you should keep an eye out for, like Brewfest is taking place, and there was a
Oh,
big revamp last year.
yeah, I think I still need
So
some toys there.
yeah, there's new toys.
Transmog.
There is transmog. There is the leveling buff that
Oh, yeah,
goes
true.
out every, I think, at 6:15 and 9:15.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the rep buff is still going on. Um, Oh, the
The
appearance change service is going away in the Shadowlands pre-patch, because all that's moving to the barbershop. That was announced also
what's going away?
today. Uh, you paying to change your appearance.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no
Um,
new Brewfest toys now. There just have
no.
been recently, and I haven't collected them all yet. So that's why I have to
Yeah.
go back.
They also, I think we complained about this in 2018, but it seemed like a missed opportunity not to have like Dark Iron Dwarves with Brewfist. So the camps are really revamped, with a lot of the allied races having a presence at the camps, like the Nightborn, or
Mm-hmm.
they're being like, we like wine, and the Dark Irons are like, yay, we're friends, not enemies now. And
Yep.
a lot of the races are there, and it feels more up to date. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that is about it. Um, I actually just put up another lore collab with Novel on the Primus week.
Oh,
So if
what's it
you
about?
want Maldraxxus lore, definitely
Oh.
check that out.
Mm-hmm.
I was busy this weekend, so we pushed our collab back from Sunday to Monday, but that
Mm-hmm.
is now up, so that's cool.
Nice.
And yeah, I think that is about it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I believe I have been able to somewhat keep up with chat, comments, and questions.
Hey.
And I also see that Thonder has subscribed to the channel. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for helping Wowhead be able to be what it is.
So
Do you
with the
girls
show
think we
coming
may
to
have
an end,
pre-patch tomorrow? No, we
no.
think it will be on October 6th. There is still a chance that it could be September 29th, but we think it's October 6th. There's another question here. Perk and Amy, do you think the Najatar mob, Shirikis repository, casting Shadow Delving with a timer is the confirmation for the pre-patch, since it's ending around the 6th of October. Did you know that?
I saw that. I know we had fun covering that, the Broken Shore channelers.
Mm-hmm.
It has been debunked, that it wasn't related, and there's been instances where mobs have counted down for nothing, so it could just be a coincidence.
Oh.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like something always happens every week, so it's like, oh, they're predicting, the start of Brewfest, or
Yeah.
the start of a patch, or the raid opening. But I know
So
that
maybe it's more
is
of
like,
the weekly reset.
yeah, I mean, I know it's a hype topic. People actually emailed feedback about Brightpaw. People actually emailed feedback about this, so we might just cover it for a laugh. But
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people that do serious data work have, sort of debunked some past things as coincidences. But I think with this vague pre-patch blog, it could be fun to speculate. It's definitely fun either way. Brightpaw, no. I just wanted him to say goodbye, and he's
Oh.
plowing my arm. Brightpaw, leave my arm alone.
Oh. But yeah,
So,
I think that was it for all the show news today.
yep.
Maybe next week we'll have the pre-patch date actually confirmed, so we can discuss that further. We can give a last minute warning to people what they should do before pre-patch is over, and then it's finally pre-patch time. We are actually so close to the new expansion.
Scary, but we'll
Yeah,
get there.
yeah, it's scary but cool at the same time.
Yeah. At least no more faction war.
True. Yep. Note multiple factions, 5 factions. um, do you think Brypaw would allow you to do a high five? Yeah.
My hand is
Looks
free.
good. Looks good. Yep.
So I'm
Oh, I've
still
got my
holding him.
Pac-Man here. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. In that
No,
case,
no, don't move, Brightpaw. Okay, you do a high five quickly.
yeah. Okay,
Before...
you can go on with the count.
Ow, 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 ow. I can't count. He's... Brightpaw, be a good boy. Let me just do the high five, okay? Okay, baby? Alright.
Uh-huh.
3, 2, 1.
Way. Virtual high five.
Yeah.
Completely safe to social distancing. You can safely do this at home. On the computer. Virtually.
Yep.
We'll be back
He's
next week. Aw. We'll be back next week, same time, and cover everything else which goes on between now and then. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys also for supporting Wowhead. I know that most of you guys already use Wowhead for looking up any item or quest or anything in game, but you can also look up things like guides and any other kind of questions in time for the new expansion. Wowhead basically covers everything, so any information you need and it will be on the site. And if you're interested in the quick recaps of what is going on, because maybe you don't have time to read everything, then you've got this show, so we can cover everything for you. Brightpaw, the star of the show. Not wrong. Yes. I've got my cat here, but she's just peacefully asleep. I think she's been there the entire stream. I'm not 100% sure, though.
He's just like a little pretzel.
The show is...
goes jailer Brightpaw.
The show is currently live on Twitch. Well, I can't say currently because this will then be uploaded to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can know that this was live on Twitch and is now on YouTube. If you're interested in watching it live, we go live on Mondays at 1 p.m. PST and 10 p.m. CEST. And that's it from us. Good night, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, maybe.
Say goodbye.
And yeah, bye-bye. Bye, Brightpaw.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye. He looks so happy there.
He's like, I am in control.
I'm relaxing. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week.